Hello YouTube, we are doing a Neeko tier list with all the items, including the new ones in Season 13. We're going to be going through Mythics first and going through all the types like AP and stuff, so skip the video with the timestamps to go through. But to start, also I'm doing this live on my Twitch right now, so come check out my Twitch if you ever want to see me streaming live. And we'll start off with the Mythics. So, Ludens. I put Ludens as a B tier. People might know that I always say this item sucks on Neeko, but I'm just saying that harshly. This item doesn't suck. It's just I prefer having items that give you HP on her, but it's still a B tier because it's actually still pretty good. And I just think it's overshadowed by most other mythics, so we'll put that in B tier. S tier for the Everfrost. Everfrost is S tier, one of the best items on Neeko. If you combine your Root plus Everfrost, it's a very long CC chain that you can combo into making sure your ulti lands. Super good on her. Also just helps you deal with divers, gives you HP, all that good stuff. So we'll put this as our first item in S tier. Night Harvester. This item is not S tier. I like this item a lot, but it's not like an item that you want to run every game on Neeko. It's like a situational item. I think it's pretty good like top lane, pretty good into like, it's pretty good. You could almost put it S tier, but I put it A tier because I think it's just a bit worse than some other items. The new Rod of Ages. So the new Rod of Ages, I think, is our first... Is it C tier? Yeah, it's C tier. This item's pretty terrible, to be honest. Just get freaking Everfrost. Neeko's an early game champ. You don't really want an item that's purpose is to scale. You want it early game power, like from Everfrost for the same cost. Also, late game, it gives 110 AP, and Everfrost also does when you're full build. So I don't really see the point of this on Neeko. Just go Everfrost. We'll put it in C tier, but not F tier, because it's still like, you can run it, but yeah. And our other S tier, I'll put this above Everfrost as our second S tier mythic. So this item is really good. You can use it with your ulti to extend the range you hit. And it gives you penetration for more burst than Everfrost would give you. It's got great components with Alternator, just Neeko's best item. You should run this item if you've never tried it. Try ulting and using it. And this will be our top of S tier. Okay, so our next item, we have Shattered Queen. This is also a C tier, not F tier because it's still playable, but we put this in C tier below. I think it's worse than Rod. Neeko's a really low range champion. It's hard for it to get value out of this because it usually gets put on cooldown by anyone in the game who can just poke it really easily, making this item's not very good on her. So I put this item in the C tier for that reason. And also, Crown shows your passive through passive, so another reason why this item is just really bad. Liandry's. You'll be surprised, but I actually put Liandry's as a B tier, and I'll actually put it above Ludens. I think Liandry's is okay for Neeko into really tanky comps. Probably not mid lane, but if you're playing top lane Neeko versus a tank top, and they have multiple tanks on their team, I actually think this item is okay in that scenario as a top lane Neeko versus a tank. I ran this the other day versus a Sejuani top. So that's like the only scenario, but I think it's a B tier, super situational, but in those situations, it's good. Riftmaker, I will put this at the bottom. Yeah, it's worse than Ludens. I'll put this at the bottom of B tier. This item's only good with AP on hit builds. You usually want to build this like third item, like Nashor's Tooth, Death Cap or something into this, and even then, it's not that great, but if you really need the sustain, it's your best option for an AP on hit build. So I'll put it at the bottom of B tier of like a situational. It's like C tier is like just bad, but you can play it. B tier is like situationally good. A tier is like pretty good most of the time, and S tier is like you can run this every single game. It's just always going to be good. Okay, so these are the AP mythics. Now let's go to the ADC mythics. So Kraken Slayer, S tier. In my opinion, Shieldbow also S tier. If the enemy team has a lot of assassins, Shieldbow can be really good so you don't get one shot. And Kraken Slayer versus tankies, I think they're both S tier ADC mythics. And Gale Force, I would probably put this as, honestly, I put it as a low B tier. It's just not as good as these two. You might think it's helpful to hit your ulti on Neeko, but Neeko doesn't need help hitting her ulti as AD because it doesn't do any damage. You want to just, if you were going to run this, it would be to dodge skill shots, basically, but these two are just better. I'll put it at low B tier, though, because it's not, like, super bad. Steelheart, or whatever this is called, you guys might be thinking I'm going to put this in S tier because it's, like, low elo height, but on Neeko, I would actually put this as low B tier, maybe even the top of C tier. I really don't think this item's good on Neeko. Or on many champs. Honestly, I'm putting it at the top of C tier, to be honest. This item just has a terrible build path for Neeko. When you complete it, it just gives you a bunch of... When you build this item, you're super tanky and it does a lot of damage, but it falls off quick. As soon as the enemy gets Bork, you're still squishy, and the damage doesn't scale with time. So it's really strong right when you get it, but it's like the build part up to that sucks. And like once you get to like 3 items into the game, it starts to suck also. I'm going to put it as a high C tier. I don't think it's very good. Unlike that, though, I think the Jack Show is probably, out of all the tank items we have, probably an A tier. I haven't really played with it much, but if you're going to play Neeko to run into the middle of the enemy team, like for instance, if you comboed it with something like a chem tank and you get into the middle of the enemy team and you can get really tanky and hard to kill, I'd probably put it as an A tier. It's probably one of the better tank items for Neeko right now. And Gauntlet, I'll probably put it at the bottom of C tier. It builds from Sheen. Sheen is really bad on Neeko because Neeko has really low base AD, and Sheen scales with your base AD, so it's not good for that, but it's okay. I could see it being okay in like a tanky like AD Neeko build with like Bork or something. So I'm gonna put it at the bottom of B tier. I think it's better than Hard as Steel for sure. Okay, now we're going into our tank slash support items. I think the Virtue item is probably B tier. Probably below Leandri's, but above Luden's, I would say. I think it's alright, but I think it's worse than Locket, just because the fact that you don't always want to ulti just to give the effect to your team. Like, you'll be forced to use ulti not at ideal times just to use it. Just locking in for my solo queue game here. Again, I'm live on Twitch right now, so come check out the stream if you want to see me live doing these kind of things. So yeah, I think that it's just like a worse version of Locket, but it's still pretty good. I put it at B tier, which brings us to like the true support items. I think Locket is... it's pretty similar power level to this item. I'm going to put it above because I think as a support, it's just cheaper and better. The reason why this is good because it's really cheap and you can use the Locket shield and resist when you want. Unlike this one, you're going to be forced to use it when you ulti. So I'm going to put Locket up there. I think it's one of the better tank items. I wouldn't put it in S tier, but if the enemy team has like AoE magic damage like Karthus Fiddle or something, this item's really, really, really good. So I'm going to put it up there. I think it's a really good one. And then our only tank item that I'd put in S tier is Even Shroud. I think Even Shroud Neeko is really good. I think I would even put it above Shield Bow. It's super good if you want to like damage amp. The enemy team's really tanky. You can like damage amp your team to make them do more damage. It also synergizes well with like tank or AP builds. You can go full AP after this item and do a lot of damage yourself because it empowers your own damage after a root. Or you can go like full tank and just be like a CC bot for your team. So this is probably like an S tier item. I think you could run this on Neeko every single game. I actually have a viewer named Neeko Sneeko who hit Diamond 1 this season, almost Masters, and he builds only Even Shroud every single game, proving the S tier of this item where I'm saying you can build this every game if you want. S tier is like you could build it every game. It's always good for support specifically. So, and Shirelia's, hear me out. I don't build it much anymore because it's overshadowed by other things, but I think this is the bottom of A tier. You could basically run this game item every game. It's pretty good. If you put your W down in Shirelia's, you get the bonus move speed on yourself from Shirelia's, and you can use it to engage with your team or disengage. It's got decent stats, cheap. This item is really, really good. I'd put it as A tier personally, the bottom of it. And Mandate is F tier. This item sucks. If you're using it to hit a root and do more damage, just build Even Shroud. It's really bad. Don't build it. And same with Moonstone. Moonstone wants you to be playing a champion you can poke and like apply it easily. And Neeko can't do that, so it's also F tier. If you are wondering, YouTube, why I suddenly have a Neeko wig on, I have a channel point in my stream that makes me wear the wig for a game, so you're going to see this until I finish my next game. I think we were at Trinity Force. So Trinity Force, I would put this in a low C tier. I think it gives attack speed, HP, and movement speed when you move, and it gives a Sheen item. I'd probably put it above Shattered Queen. Nah, it's probably worse. Bottom of C tier, you're pretty much trolling if you build this, but it's playable. Same with this item is bad. Gives no attack speed, AoE and slow and melee range, which Neeko doesn't need. This one's also bad, just AD, AoE, heal, and melee range. Neeko doesn't want to be in melee range. This item's also probably worse than Trinity, but playable. It gives you magic pen and armor pen. It does % HP damage, so you could probably build this in some weird on-hit build, but yeah. And then the 3 lethality items are all F tier because Neeko doesn't scale with lethality. Neeko, lethality items scale if you have abilities that do AD damage, like Caitlyn, Varus, and these kind of things. Neeko's abilities do magic damage, making lethality really bad on her, so all 3 of these items are terrible and you should never build them. Alright, so now we were doing the AP items tier list. So to start off, we have Banshees. I'm putting Banshees for now at A tier. The reason it's not S tier is because it's actually bugged on Neeko currently, and when you have your passive up, the enemy can see the purple bar revealing your Neeko. So I wouldn't put it at S tier because of the bug. If the bug was fixed, it'd be S tier. Mr. Riot Flock said that when the Neeko update comes, Neeko's bug should go away because they're specifically working on fixing her bugs so that she won't get any bugs now or in the future. At which point, if it gets fixed, it'll probably be S tier, but for now, we'll put it at A tier. Cosmic Drive, I'm actually putting at B tier, and here's why. I think this item in general, if you're getting it like early, it's the C tier. But I get this item when I'm full build. I like to sell boots for Cosmic Drive because Cosmic Drive gives you move speed. So it's a really good item at the very end of your build once you sell boots. So if you sell boots for this at the end, it's a B tier. But if you're getting it before then, I'd put it in C. So I'm going to put it in B in terms of sell boots for B and get this. Dark Seal, S tier. This item's always good on Neeko. She has crazy AP ratios, meaning this is a very cheap item that you can snowball hard on. Always get this item on Neeko for the most part if you can. Demonic Embrace, I'm going to put at the bottom of B. They've kept nerfing the damage it does on ranged champions, so the effect is pretty bad now, but it gives a bunch of HP and AP, and Neeko likes HP and AP, so I definitely think it deserves being in B tier, but it's definitely lots of better items that are much better. Same with this item, it's kind of just a worse version of Shadow Flame, probably better than Demonic Embrace. I'd probably put it worse than Cosmic Drive, though. Just get Demonic Shadow Flame instead. Your spells are kind of low range, like you have to hit Q at max range to proc it, and yeah, it's just not the best. Lichbane is an F tier item. Neeko has high cooldowns, making it really hard to proc this on cooldown because of the fact that it's got, you have long cooldowns, meaning you're only going to be able to basically pop it once in a burst combo, at which point any other item you build will do more burst than this item, so this item is F tier. Magi's will put it in C tier. You should basically never upgrade Dark Seal on Neeko because the way her champion plays is she goes into fights and dies, and she's going to lose all of the stats on this item really easily. That being said, if you're snowballing hard and you have a Zanya's already completed, you can go for it if you're feeling a little risky, but I would definitely put it in C tier because it's pretty bad overall. You basically have to be trolling to build this item, but it's not F tier because if you can keep the stacks, it's obviously amazing. Morello's, our first legendary S tier. This item is amazing on Neeko. Neeko loves HP, AP, it gives both of those, and it gives anti-heal. So if you go in for a big ult, you can apply this to everyone on their team so that their team can't heal them up as you're going in. So this is our first S tier legendary item. Next up is going to be Nashor's Tooth. I'm putting this in A tier. You might be questioning why, because you know me personally, I love this item. I build it all the time, but I don't build it because it's the best. I just build it because it's fun. Realistically, this item is only good to certain comps, certain builds, and it's usually not really good that early. You usually want to get it like 4th or 5th in your build, even though I usually build it like really early because it's fun. So I'll put it in A tier as a good situational item. Death Cap is definitely S tier. Neeko has crazy AP ratios, and if you have AP ratios that are crazy, Death Cap is always your go-to play, making Death Cap an S tier item. And I'll probably put Death Cap, no, I'll put it below Morello's. I think this item's kind of hard to get. A lot of the times it's easier to get Shadow Flame instead of this, or like Void Staff instead of this, and like someone always needs to get anti-heal, so I'll probably put it up there. Rylai's, I'll probably put it C tier above there. It's a lot the same as Demonic Embrace. It gives you really good stats, HP and AP Neeko wants, but it gives you a worse effect than Demonic. It doesn't proc on Neeko's W. It's useless on her E and R. So it's going to be a C tier item for sure, but it's still, you know, you can build it. It's okay. Zanya's, top of S tier, even above Dark Seal. This item is never bad to build on Neeko. Even if you're versus a full AP team, this item is still good on Neeko because of the fact that you can ulti Zanya's and not get killed. So this item is always good on Neeko no matter what. If you're wondering what to build and you don't know what to get next, chances are you can probably just get this item. It's probably going to be fine. My solo queue game's looking fine still. Yeah, guys, I'm putting the things in F tier before I vote them, so this doesn't mean they're F tier. Shadow Flame is probably A tier. I don't think it's as good as Death Cap unless you, like, don't have the gold income. I think it's better than Nashor's Tooth. It's probably on par with Banshees. It's probably even with this. It's a really good item on Neeko. Good for killing squishies and snowballing. Yeah, a great item to get second. I'm not a huge fan of it just because I'd rather have Nashor's Tooth because it's more fun. But it definitely makes you go big boom. It gives you HP, AP, tons of burst. Great item on Neeko. But I think there's item times where you'd want to get Zanya's instead, or Rabadons instead, or Morello's instead. So I think it's a bit situational. You don't want to get it every single game. Where'd you get your wig? I got it from Amazon. Next we have Archangels. This item is terrible. Never build it. Neeko's an early game champ. Early game champions do not want to build. I'm going to take Halo Blades this lane for fun. Early game champions do not want to get tier as it stunts your early game. So you don't want to get this. And finally, Void Staff, I'll probably put it above Death Cap. Void Staff is good on chance with really high base damage abilities. Neeko has high base damage abilities. By 3rd or 4th item, this will always be gold efficient because the enemy will have even base MR about 40 to 50. And it's cheap and usually easier to get than Death Cap, so I'll put this as my final S tier. So we are doing now the tier list of AD items on Neeko. So this item gives no attack speed, terrible on Neeko, F tier. This item can be okay situationally, we'll put it C tier. If you are going Neeko and later in the game, you can get it for situational, but again, Neeko wants attack speed, so we'll put it in C tier. This item is probably A tier. If you're going AD Neeko and you need anti-heal, it's your best option, so we'll put that in A tier. Navori Quick Blades, we'll put it at the top of C tier. This item is not very good, but if you're going crit Neeko, and you're versus someone top lane that you need your, like for instance, if there's a Trinamir who's going to run you down, this allows you to get your W up really quickly over and over again and keep kiting him out. So it can be good situationally, but it's pretty terrible. So we'll put it in C tier. This item is just terrible. Doesn't give attack speed, but if you really need the cleanse effect on it, I guess we'll put that also at the bottom of C tier. This can be B tier. Again, most items, if they don't have attack speed, will be B tier below because Neeko wants attack speed. She doesn't scale with AD, but this item's actually pretty good. I know Tarzan ran it a lot mid lane, so it probably could be higher, but for me personally, I don't like items without attack speed, so I'll put that at B tier. This item, also B tier. If you're trying to shred tanks, I'd rather not have AD pen. I'd rather just have like Bork or something and just go with the flow because Neeko has a lot of AP in her kit, and getting something that gives you AD pen isn't the greatest on a champion who has AP in her kit. So there, Bloodthirster, if you're going crit Neeko, you can fill this into your last item pretty good if you need that extra HP to survive an assassin or something. So this is definitely like a B tier. I'd put it below these two though. GA, also a B tier item. I think Zhonya's is just better on Neeko, even in AD builds, because she still scales with AP. But if you're going crit Neeko, Zhonya's is really bad with crit Neeko. And I'd probably put this over here. Yeah, put this here. It's definitely still good if you're going crit Neeko, because crit Neeko scales with AD and not AP, so you don't want Zhonya's for crit Neeko builds. If you're on crit Neeko, this is probably still an okay item. Bork, S tier. And most AD Neeko players literally rush this item first item every game. This is S tier on Neeko if you're going AD. Always get this item pretty much. Essence Reaver is F tier. This item sucks on AD Neeko. It doesn't give you attack speed. She doesn't need the mana from it. Terrible. Rage Blade, I will put that item at the top of A tier, below S tier. This item's not S tier because you don't want to get it every game you play. Like S tiers, you get it every game. This item, most games you want to get it, but sometimes you want to get like a Wit's End or something instead if you need like some situational stuff. So this item gives you like the best DPS. Also, for people who are wondering, you're going to say, but it's bugged on Neeko with her W. This item is bugged on Neeko, but do damage tests and practice tool. This item is still going to give you top DPS in most builds. So yeah, this is an A tier item, top of A tier. Phantom Dancer, I don't build it often, but this is like the best attack speed crit item you can get if you're going crit Neeko build, and even if you're going an on-hit build, it's still pretty good. But if you're going crit Neeko, you always build this, so it's definitely an S tier AD Neeko item. Spear Sojin, F tier, terrible, doesn't give attack speed. You don't want this on Neeko, you want attack speed items. Again, terrible, Neeko wants attack speed, we don't build this. Rapid Fire Cannon is one of the worst out of all the attack speed crit items. It's like the worst out of all of them. I'd honestly probably put it at the bottom of B. It's not a C tier because you're not really trolling to build this, but it's worse than all these items usually if you were going to go AD Neeko, so I'd put it down there. This item's terrible, no attack speed, so F tier. Same with this, no attack speed, F tier. Hurricane, S tier. You could put it, I don't think you run it every game on Neeko, but if you're playing a game of Neeko, we'll put it A tier because you only build this item. It's only a DPS game if you're hitting both bolts on every auto. If there's not both bolts every auto, it's a DPS loss. So if you're team fighting a lot, it's worse. But this item's actually really good if you're split pushing or trying to get tempo because it allows you to push waves really quick. And it does have synergy in Neeko's kit, allowing her to get extra W procs off. So we'll put that at the top of A tier. Ravenous Hunter, I haven't played with this item at all since the buffs. The thing is, it doesn't give attack speed, but it gives Omnivamp. Could be okay in some like AP on hit builds where you need some sustain and you can get some Omnivamp. But in general, I'd probably just put it at the top of C here. Because I still think you'd rather just have Bloodthirster in a crit build. And if you want lifesteal, you also have Bork in an on hit build. So Black Cleaver gives no attack speed. We don't want this. IE, we'll put this at the bottom of A. If you're going crit Neeko, you're always going to want this third. But it's not very good in general because crit Neeko is not great in general. Also, let's put Nashor's Tooth. Even though we did it for the AP build, we'll put it for things. Monomune is only good if you're going an AP on hit build. You can run this in AP on hit build. That being said, it's really bad still in those builds. It's not like the best item, but you can. AD Neeko support work? No, it doesn't. You can run this if you're going an AP on hit. Like if you go Nashor's Tooth, this and Riftmaker is an okay build. So I'll put that in a build B if you want to go a build like that. So Nashor's Tooth is only good for AP on hit builds, not really any of these AD builds, and even then it's not the greatest. But this item is really good in AD builds. If you build Zanya's as your 5th item and then your 6th item, you can build this after Zanya's, making it a B tier situational item. I'd say it's better than these two. Probably better than Bloodthirster. I'd probably put it about there. Seems good. Next item. We got the whatever this game item's called, I already forgot. I don't think it's very good, to be honest. I think it's like high C tier. I know Wero likes to build it a lot, but I think it's not that good. It's literally not good on any champs in the game right now, so I don't see why you would build it on Neeko. So I'll put that as high C tier, but if you're going to be split pushing a lot, it can help you take towers quicker and make yourself tankier, so it's an option. It's an option. Wit's End. Wit's End is S tier. Better than Phantom Dancer. This is one of Neeko's best items. Usually when you're going on hit Neeko, you get Bork plus Wit's End with one of your mythic items, Kraken or Shield Bow. You pretty much always want to get this item. If the enemy team doesn't have any AP, that's when you would substitute in the Rage Blade instead. So yeah, Wit's End is like pretty much a must-have in most AD builds. And then you have the Storm Razors, which is a pretty bad item. I'd put it in C tier, but I'd put it probably here because it at least gives you attack speed. So yeah, this is the tier list for AD items on Neeko, roughly. Obviously, all these tier lists, by the way, I'm just like doing off the top of my head. It's just like you can move things up or down around, but you know, general power level is where I'd put these items. Okay, so for the jungle items, they're brand new, and it's hard to really tell, but I'd probably just order them like this. I think the green one overall is the best because Neeko has low range and can easily get picked out or like bursted, and this just helps her not do that. So I'd put it as the best, but all 3 of them are good on Neeko. You probably tie these in A tier, to be honest. I don't think any of these are bad on Neeko. The red one's good because your auto attack slows, which can line up your root, or you can like hit the auto attack slow to get in range of your slow smite, which can get you in range to hit your root easy. And the blue one's really good if you want to be playing like flank Neeko, like you want to be going around the backside and get flanks. This can really help you get positioning for ult. So all 3 of these are good on jungle Neeko, but I think the best one is the green one. Alright, Lethality is easy because Neeko sucks with Lethality. Lethality is only good on AD casters, making all these items terrible on Neeko. The only one is, I've never tried it, but I know Wero, the AD top main, who's a Grandmaster top main, says this item is good situationally on Neeko because it gives HP and a shield. So if you want to like get a bit tankier and avoid a skill shot, this item can be okay in some AD Neeko games. So I'll trust his word and put it in C tier because I still think it sucks because it's Lethality. But Lethality just sucks on Neeko. Don't build these items ever, really. Support items. Relic Shield is A tier. This item is basically really good if you're in hard lanes where you can't trade into and you just want to play safe and just farm minions. But it's not S tier because you don't want to run it every game. Situationally, you'll run this in hard matchups. S tier is the Spell Thieves, of course. This is your bread and butter. It gives you the most AP. It gives you mana regen. And you can, on Neeko, stack it up really quickly if you're playing aggressively. Spectral Sickle is not F tier, but I'll put it on C. If you want to go for like a meme AD Neeko support, this is your go-to, but I call it meme, so that's why it's C tier. And F tier is the tank AD item. Never take this, just take Relic Shield. If you're going a meme AD one, I don't see why you'd be going this one. Okay, in terms of actual items, we got here our Ardent Stentor and Staff. I'll put these also as meme items above Spectral probably below. These items are only good if you run Font of Life. Font of Life makes it when you root someone, your teammates get healed for autoing them. So if you take Font of Life with these, you can basically make it when people auto your roots, you can give them more AP or attack speed and on hit damage. But again, I'm putting it in C tier because it's like a meme build. I wouldn't recommend it, but it's not F tier. You can run it in a meme build if you go Font of Life with it. Redemption. Redemption is actually out of the support items. I'll put this in the, I don't know if there's any S, oh, there is an S tier. So the S tier is obviously the Ward Stone. This item's S tier. If you get to late game, you can throw this in. It's super good. But other than that, there's no other S tiers out of any of these, but there are A tiers. So Redemption is definitely an A tier item. It does 10% of the enemy's HP maximum as true damage shred. So it actually, you can go in with your ulti and use this and it'll actually do damage, heal you, and make your allies want to follow you as you go in because they know they're going to get healed. So actually not terrible on Neeko. I used to run this in previous seasons a lot. I really like it with, for instance, Locket into this because the heal and shield power increases your Locket. So if you're facing like a Karthus, Vladimir, Kennen AoE comp and you can go like, lock it into this item can be really good, but in general, this item is just really good in general. Definitely an A tier item. This item is B tier. This is the one that makes it you can cleanse CC off a carry. The reason it's B tier, not C tier, is this item is actually good if you have a very, very fed ADC on your team, and the only way you lose is if your ADC dies and they have like a Fiddlestick Sphere. You can get this item. So I'm putting it in B because it's like a situationally good item. If you have a very fed carry who only can lose if he gets CC'd, this is a good item. Same way Knight's Vow, I'll put it maybe above this, is also a situationally good item that I'll put in B tier. Again, if you have a very fed carry on your team and the only way you lose is if that carry gets killed, you can run this item second to protect them, and it's actually not bad. This item I'll put above all these. Obviously you always want to get Morellos, but the situation where this is good is if you know the next team fight is going to decide the rest of the game and you have enough for this but not enough for Morellos, you can get this. If you know the next team fight is like the last fight in the game, you can get it. And then finally we have the Zeke's. Zeke's is actually not bad. It's not great. I'll probably put it just above over here. You can run this in like an even shroud into this build and make it so like you root someone and your ADC does more damage, but it's kind of memey. To be honest, I'll put it down at the bottom of B. It's okay, but it's not the greatest, so I wouldn't recommend it. But definitely the best items we got are these four right here. All great items you can run in a lot of games if you like going like supported builds on Neeko. Abyssal Mask. This item is fallen from its former glory. Season after season, it gets worse. I think this version of it's worse than before because it costs more and it doesn't actually get any better. Neeko doesn't need the mana on it or anything, but it's still a situationally good item. If your team has a lot of mana AP and the enemy team does too, you can get this. So we'll put this as B tier. I think Chains is actually an S tier tank item for Neeko. It's really, really cheap, and it makes you giga tanky. If there's someone really fit on the enemy team, you can just make it so they can't kill you and increase your CC chain on there. So, you know, it is what it is. Dead Man's Plate is actually kind of good on Neeko, but at the same time, I never build it because it's kind of not the greatest. I think I'll put it at high B tier, but it could be an A tier item. It's good because it gives you move speed and allows you to roam, but because Neeko's range, you don't get like the slow on your auto attack from it, so it's like, meh, it's whatever. Thimble is probably F tier. Neeko, like, if you're going tank Neeko, you want to get tanky. This item builds from tier. You don't really want to get like tier item early on Neeko when you're playing support or like any role. You don't really want tier on Neeko, so this item's F tier. Whatever is this called? Force of Nature, S tier. Probably better than this. This is like one of the best magic resist items in the game. If you get this versus like a lot of magic damage teams, they'll just never be able to kill you. Definitely an S tier tank item on Neeko if you're gonna go tank Neeko. Frozen Heart, low B tier. Situationally can be good if they have a lot of attack speed, but again, similar to Abyssal Mask, you don't need mana on Neeko, and you kind of want HP on Neeko, and it doesn't get any of those, so it's kind of whatever. I have literally never built this item before on Neeko. Maybe it's good, who knows. I'm gonna put it C tier because I never build it. Thormail is A tier. It's situational. You wouldn't build this if they don't have healing, but if they have a lot of healing, this item is amazing, so we'll put it A tier. S tier is like you could go tank Neeko and run this item every game. This item is like situational if you need anti-heal badly. Randuin's is actually like an S tier item. If they have a lot of crit ADCs and like crit damage and like a lot of AD, this is like the parallel to the Force of Nature. Super good item. It gives you HP and armor. We love it. Spirit Visage is C tier. This is just a really bad magic resist item for Neeko. There's better options like Force of Nature. Don't get it. This is F tier. Don't get this. You need to be standing on top of the enemy to do the damage. You don't want to stand on top of the enemy when you're playing Neeko, so it's bad. The new Chem Tank buff made it really good. I don't know where it is here. It's probably lower than this, but if they have a lot of AP and you want to hard engage, this item's super good on Neeko because you can use it to just run in and hit big ultis. Fun fact, back in Season 9, I used to play Righteous Glory Neeko with Aftershock, like Rush. I'd play this item every single game, Rush on Neeko back in Season 9. So, you know, it's actually a pretty good item on her. I'm happy they made it a legendary. It's a lot better on Neeko now. I'll put Warmogs at the top of B. This item, I like to build it when the enemy team has a lot of poke champions that I can't really deal with. So when the enemy team has a lot of poke champs like Xerath and stuff, it's really hard to play Neeko. This item can just counter poke champs. So if they have a lot of poke, this item's actually not bad. And we already did this in the last one with support, but I'd probably put it at the bottom of B. Again, you don't need mana. It's not got the best stats. So yeah, that's it for the tier list. We went through all the items. So if you enjoyed this tier list, like, comment, subscribe. Check out my Twitch stream. I've been doing this live on stream in between queues. It's literally taken me 6 hours to do this tier list on stream. So I hope you enjoyed that.